Right now, joining us, Congressman, Republican, 3rd District, Coastal Carolina, Walter Jones. Congressman, good to have you.
John, thank you. And always to be on your show is very special. And you're right, we do have our share of northeasters and hurricanes in the 3rd District of North Carolina, but I've never seen anything quite as devastating as what's happened to Houston. It made me start reading Revelations again, to be honest with you.
It's pretty crazy. So far, the administration and FEMA's response to this seems to be pretty solid. Everybody's response seems to be solid, not the catastrophe we had with Katrina, although more rain coming today, and what they're saying now is they just can't absorb any more water, so they're not out of the woods, right?
Yeah, John, it really is historic, and it's one of those tragedies that does happen to America from time to time. I mean, a natural disaster, but I've never seen anything of this proportion. I really have not.
So, Congressman, FEMA says they have $3 billion in reserves. Obviously, this cleanup is going to cost a lot of money. The president says he's likely to go back to Congress to ask for additional aid for Hurricane Harvey. What do you think the reaction will be?
Well, let me. I'm going to give you an answer, but did you see the Judicial Watch article that came out on the 16th of August, where U.S. pays $50 million for luxury cars, weapons, booze to mental Afghanistan intelligence officers?
Yes.
If you did see it?
I did.
Okay. Well, how in the world can we take care of the people of America who need help when we're spending $50 million so that a British firm hired by DOD to train Afghans to be intelligent officers spent that money on Porsches, Aston Martins, and Bentley, and lucrative salaries for executives and their wives? I mean, I don't know. I'm going to raise Cain about this with a letter to the Speaker of the House and ask him how in the world can we help the American people who are hurting so bad, in this case in Houston, when we're sending millions and millions of dollars to a foreign country, England, so they can pay their executives to drive around in Aston Martin, Bentleys, and Porsches.
And
now I'm going to get back to your point. I don't know what's going to be proposed. I go back next Tuesday with other members of Congress, and I'm sure we will conference Wednesday morning, and the leadership will tell us what our options are. As you know, options, that's the reason I talked about this waste of money in training Afghans to be intel officers, because it was used to buy cars to ride around Piccadilly Square, and I just don't know anymore. We need to start taking care of America.
Well, the money that we're spending now in Afghan in this training exercise, now we're outsourcing it to British firms, and they're just milking the American taxpayer. And now we're committed to spend more money in there with another 4,000 troops with no AUMF, no goals, no objective, no end in sight, nothing. Just keep pouring money in. Incredible.
Well, this is where the point you've been making for months, and I've been one of your supporters on this. When you spend all this money elsewhere, then when you have your American people hurting like they are in Texas, it makes it much more difficult to find the money to help them out, and they deserve to be helped first.
Well, that's exactly it. And I think it was a great segue that you made, because the president's going to go to Congress, ask for more money, and yet we're wasting it. I mean, the fraud and abuse that goes on, when you trace back to Iraq, I mean, billions of dollars that we can't even find, Congressman Jones. We don't even know where it is. I mean, I'm not talking about a couple $100,000. I'm talking about $1 billion in cash. They can't find it. They have no idea where it went, who's got it, what happened to it, and God knows what else. I mean, billions and billions of dollars spent, and the money is it's sucked up by who knows who, and the fraud and abuse is incredible. And this is our money, and nobody watches over it. And there's always a reason. There's always an excuse. There's always something they're trying to do, whether it would be to buy favors from the chieftains over there. They always have a reason, but the money never shows up. You can't account for any of it. And it's $1 billion. How can you lose $1 billion cash? Who does
John,
this?
That's why I'm so upset with Paul Ryan for not allowing us to have a debate on the future of Afghanistan. I know you've had John Sopko on your show before, the Inspector General for Afghan Reconstruction, and I know that you and he really connected because he talked and gave specific situations of waste, fraud, and abuse.
Yeah.
Yet the leadership of the House of Representatives would rather be complicit in waste, fraud, and abuse. That should be a crime. If you're a member of Congress and you know that when you allocate money from the taxpayers to go to pay for waste, fraud, and abuse in Afghanistan, that would be a crime if you were not in Congress.
You're right. It's incredible what they're focused on and your leadership is focused on. All right, let's shift over a minute. The Afghan debate isn't going away. We had Scott Taylor on yesterday, Congressman, 2nd District, Virginia Beach. You know him well.
Yep.
His district mirrors yours. Same thing, military area. And Scott Taylor was beside himself I think I had him on a Monday, about the fact that we don't have an AUMF. We're sending troops in. It's not being debated. And he said that he's gone directly to the administration and he's gone to Paul Ryan. And he said that Paul Ryan gave him his assurances that it would get debated when they come back. And he said the reason he took it out of appropriations is he didn't think that was the place for it. And what I told him is, you know what? He said that just to get you out of his office.
Excuse me, go ahead, please.
No, because I've heard this, right? Well, it's not appropriate in rules. It's not appropriate in appropriate. You know, we got to find the right venue. No, you don't. Just have the damn debate.
To your point, John, you're exactly right. All Paul Ryan has to do is to tell the Committee of Jurisdiction, Foreign Relations, today I'm going to ask you to mark up in committee a new AUMF and get it to the floor. I mean, it doesn't even take but a phone call, and it could be done. And I hope that Scott is right. I hope that Mr. Ryan will keep his word. But I'm going to tell you, we got to raise a debt ceiling in September. We got the flood insurance bill coming up, as we'll probably postpone that because we got to figure out the cost of this devastation in Houston. And, I mean, we've got a lot of things coming up in September. But I agree. The number one thing should be debating the future of Afghanistan.
So let's get to the debt ceiling. So the administration, their position, as I understand it, is, look, we've had 15 or 16 debt ceiling increases in a row dating back to Clinton, okay, all through George W., all through Obama. Now we got another one. So what the administration is saying is go with another one, get us a clean bill, increase the debt, increase the caps, get that behind us, and then we're going to put all of our focus on tax reform, which if we can get our tax code redone, get these rates down, get repatriation, we can start growing the economy at 3.5%, and then we can take care of the debt later, but not right now because it'll muddy up the waters. Yep. Do you subscribe to that thinking?
No, I do not, because I've heard it for 19 years or 16 years, whatever you said. Every year they said this is the last time we're going to raise the debt ceiling. And you gave the number 15 to 16 times since the late 90s. Okay, it's just kicking the can down the road, and it's never going to happen in my lifetime. I just think until you get to a point that you say, we will sign a contract with the American people, we will have it authorized by the United States Supreme Court, that you sign this, that no more will you raise the debt ceiling, will be the only way, and that probably doesn't have any back to it, support to it. But to me, this just keeps going on. Every year they say, well, this is the last time we're going to do it. We're going to do a better job next year and balance the budget. It never happens.
Mm-hmm.
The American people should not put up with this because it's their children's future that we're squandering away.
Mm-hmm.
Your children.
Mm-hmm. Unbelievable, right?
Yeah,
I mean, absolutely. It doesn't make any sense.
And I know that there will be a few, some from Virginia, I think, I'm not calling names, but that would join me in saying that all you're going to do is continue to go down this path of spending more than you bring in and at some point in time, the debt would grow from 19.9 to somewhere around 25, 27 trillion dollars. I just think at this point, particularly in this time in the history of our country, that if we don't make a stand for the good of the next generation, then God's going to judge us all in an unfavorable way.
Congressman, the Trump administration today, the president going to Springfield, Missouri, at an abandoned factory along Route 66 of all places. Remember, the old Route 66 is how you got from the east to the west before the interstate system was put up there by President Eisenhower. So the president going to lay out a tax reform program today. It's not a rally, it's a speech. He's got several key principles: reduce the corporate tax rate, repatriation, get the $3 trillion back in the U.S. that's parked overseas, close the corporate loopholes that are just basically a bastion of swamp dwelling for the fat cats, reduce middle-class income taxes, simplify the tax code. Those are his 5 principles. But, Congressman, I just had this discussion with former Maryland Governor Bob Ehrlich. So nobody's carrying the bill. There's no bill. It's not like the Cotton Purdue immigration review. Nobody has a bill. And so they're telling me at the White House, here's what they're telling me. They're going to get a bill. They're going to go through regular order, and it's going to bubble up, and Paul Ryan's going to do this and wave some kind of a magic wand, and poof, you're going to get this great tax reform bill. But nobody...
Excuse me for laughing. Keep going.
I like to make you laugh, Congressman. That makes my day when I make you laugh. And he's going to make and put some enormous tax cut bill is going to come up, and all the Republicans are going to say, "Wow, look what you did, Paul!" And it's the president's going to be excited, and we're going to get it passed. You know that's not going to happen.
Most of your listeners don't know who Houdini is, but it sounds like to me he's living again. I just don't know how in the world, if you don't go through the committee Ways and Means, particularly in both houses, Senate and the House, how you can just poof a bill to the floor. I guess they can. They can just write it and give it rules and say rules voted out. We're the majority party, so they can send it to the floor. They do that frequently, by the way. But on this bill, I don't know how they can, because there's so much interest in the tax bill that almost as much interest as health care. And if you don't have the details of how you're going to get it done, what's the cost going to be, and when does it pay for itself, I don't know how you can get it passed, to be honest with you.
You can't do this organically. They want to do it like they did repeal and replace. You can't do it. It'll be negotiated in public. And think about it, Congressman. You're not going to be able to walk down the hall without bumping into 4 lobbyists going to the bathroom with $5,000 Armani suits on, $15,000 Rolex watches, $3,000 Italian shoes, running around the Capitol trying to get every single loophole excluded, because that's what they do.
You're right.
This thing is going to be a disaster, and then they're going to lose the high ground. Instead, what they should do is get somebody on appropriations, pick a name. I don't care who it is. Scott Taylor, anybody. And they carry the bill, and they say, this is the president's tax reform package. Here's all the things it includes. He gets sponsors. You try to get it through appropriations, and then you're debating the bill. You're not debating how to make the sausage. It's an incredibly dumb strategy. That's the strategy they had with repeal and replace, which turned out to be a catastrophe. Why would they repeat this?
John, I don't know. You and I have met. We've had lunch together, and I've been on your show many, many times, which I appreciate. I don't know. I've been there 22 years, and this has been the most amazing 7 months of 22 years. I don't know how anything is happening unless they kind of wish it through the committee without members debating and voting and get it to the floor. This would be a huge mistake if they try to do that. But I don't know. It's kind of a magic show up there right now.
It is a magic show. It's just crazy what is going on up there, Congressman.
It really is, John.
It really is. And this is going to fail. I was on a conference call yesterday, and they're rolling this out. And look, I'm excited about the president's speech in Missouri today, and I think he's doing the right thing. But if you look at the model for legal immigration reform, which I think it's called the RAISE Act, I think, and it was sponsored by Republican Senators Tom Cotton from Arkansas and David Perdue in Georgia. Now you have a bill. Now you can debate the bill. And the Democrats can say, no, we don't want to do this, and others can say we don't. But you have a bill to debate, but then they can get on TV and they can, like I have as a surrogate for that, and you can defend that bill. You can't defend a bill that's not even created because they're going to create it behind closed doors with the lobbyists. It's nuts.
John, I tell you the truth. That's why I think Congress has an approval rating of about 14% or 12%. I don't know what it is anymore. We have taken from the people their ability to influence policy. I've said that on your show 110 times. Mm-hmm. The special interests control the policy, not the people. The people should control the policy through their House members and Senate. But those days are gone. I hope it gets back, but it's going to take a scandal to bring it back.
Congressman Walter Jones, as always, spot on. So good to have you on. I appreciate
Thank you, John.
You coming on all the time. Northeast North Carolina, 3rd District. More information, go to jones.house.gov. It's all right there. Thanks for being with us, Congressman.
Thank you,
it's always
John.
an honor to
Bye-bye.
have you on.